It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dynamite, The Life and Times of Brodie Lee. I'm going to be honest, guys, might get a little emotional here. You're going to have to forgive me, but this is a wrestling show unlike any other. I just wish the circumstances are better. It still doesn't feel like Brodie Lee is gone. Still feels like he is with us, with the fans. But more importantly, I just wish he was there with his family. I mean, whether somebody is the biggest fan of somebody or not, there so much reverence has been paid to the wrestler, but also the man himself, the family man, and so many wrestlers talked about on social media, but even in interview pieces I'm going to talk about in this review about how great of a family man he was, and just, it is really fucking tragic that he was cut down the prime of his life and that his children will have to grow up without their father, even though his spirit will live in them, and that his wife will have to grow up without, or continue to raise the kids without him, though his spirit will no doubt live with them. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words a bit, but just really, really sad. But a great opening line by JR. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. The roster's on the stage. I saw it. I thought I could make it through a little bit of this, and I think a lot of people were emotional, but I saw the roster. I'm like, okay, saw the family. Cracked right there. I cracked, and I think a lot of people did. They did a 10-bell salute, very classy, and it's impossible to review this as a wrestling show because, I mean, don't get me wrong, the matches were pretty good. There was a nice pace and a lot of energy from the crowd and also just from the wrestlers. They were motivated. They wanted to honor Brodie Lee's legacy. Moxley had, a sit-down interview. He never had a harder time coming up with words that he said, how he's known Brodie for years and years and years. And I mean, plenty of years, up and down the Indies in WWE. In AEW, they had a pay-per-view match for the AEW Championship. And the pro wrestling as a community, and that he hopes that Brodie Lee and the outpouring support and love and the fact of how great Brodie was will, inspire people to be a little better every day. And he'll never forget him. It's starting to get to me, guys. I mean, it's really starting to get to me. I mean, it's really, really fucking sad that he is gone. Jericho joins commentary. There were various talents in Brodie Lee shirts and armbands, and it is nice that all proceeds, of course, are going to go to his family, and I'm very, very certain that the family will be taken care of, and it's just sad that it has to be due to these circumstances. We then pick things up with the first match. It's Matt Hardy and Private Hardy, if you will, Hardy Party, I'm not really sure what we call them, versus the Bucks and Colt Boom Boom Cabana. And you want to see emotion. Colt Cabana was really emotional. It looked like he'd been crying for a while. Not that I blame him. I no fault, no judgment whatsoever here, but it obviously hit him very hard. Quinn hurt his leg a little bit earlier. I'm glad he seemed to be okay afterwards. Colt does a moonsault outside. Colt got featured a whole lot here, which was to be expected. The usual tag fare. Colt does get tagged later to a huge pop. Nick gets triple team, but only for 2. Matt tries to use a chair, but Quinn's like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then Indy Taker, and then the Superman pin, 1, 2, 3. And Colt very emotional afterwards, very, very emotional. And Brodie Lee Jr., I believe his 8-year-old son, if I recall correctly, it's got another kid, I think is around 3 or 4. You'll forgive me if I get the age, it's just a little bit wrong, but he was in the front row, -1, because he got signed to a contract, apparently, an AEW contract, and that's a nice way to be able to take care of the family. And he's in the front row, and then the Acclaim come down to just do a little bit of a rap, talking about the Dark Order, this, and then SCU jumps them, and then the Acclaim get laid out. A nice way to give the Dark Order, more stuff, and whether, and this, I'm including myself, whether you're a big fan of the Dark Order gimmick or not, obviously this was a big deal for every single wrestler and human being to honor Brodie Lee's legacy. And this was nice. Darby talked about Brodie's debut and how he wanted to elevate people. He was not selfish, referring to Brodie, and that does speak highly of Brodie Lee's character. And then we get Archer, Uno, and Grayson versus Eddie, Butcher, and Blade, and the Bunny. Archer dressed like Luke Harper. That was very nice. Eddie said, Brodie, I love you, I miss you, but now that the nicest is out of the way, the Dark Order is nothing without him, and we will prove it here. And Eddie Kingston, you could tell I mean, the guy can turn it on, the guy can make it seem real, but it's just really, you could tell how much he was cracking. Not that I blame him one bit. The pace was really, really good. Archer got featured plenty. Uno and Grayson also were very motivated here. Rope walk, the moonsault. Archer doing that with the fact he had a serious back injury, but also just the fact he's 6'7", 6'8", covers the ground that he walks on, and just can do shit like that. Hit a pounce on the Butcher. DDT by Grayson on the apron to the Butcher. Ow, that looked painful. Fatality to Blade. And Uno gets the pin. Uno was down there on the mat for a while. I mean, obviously, yeah, they did do the Dark Order's start of the gimmick, but I know that they're featured a lot on Being the Elite. No, I don't watch Being the Elite. But I know that they've had a lot of interactions and a lot of stuff there, and that's great. That's great that they have gotten along so well, and obviously you can tell this meant a lot to Uno and Grayson. And I mean, even Archer you can kind of tell, because I want to say Archer and Brodie had some kind of interaction, but I don't necessarily remember. But this was a memorial. It was just a great way to feature just feature everybody in the Dark Order and just the roster. And Jake even got in, did the short arm clothesline. Did not do the DDT. Probably good, because I don't think Jake should be taking any kind of bumps at his age. And then Dax, Arn, and Colt talk about Brodie being a great family man. Bryce Rensburg, I believe, yeah, he talked about, I'm trying to remember the last name, I apologize. He was very emotional, said that any time that he, when he reconnected with Brodie, all they did was talk about family, their respective families. Man, he was fucking hit hard. That got me. That stuff got me. I mean, and I think it got a lot of people. We then get to the third match. Hangman Page, Silver and Reynolds versus MJF, Santana, and Ortiz. MJF and Puerto Rican tights, and MJF yelling at Brodie Lee Jr. and just goddamn, just fucking great. It was so great. You could tell the kid was having fun. The kid was into it. The kid I think even as a kid, he grasped it, or grasped the concept of wrestling. And just the crowd popping for Silver, Reynolds, and Page. And Silver going nuts at one point. This is after Page had just gone nuts, hitting a whole bunch of moves. But Silver goes up, really hit a destroyer where he just uses ankles. That was impressive stuff. And then triple team for two on Silver. Wardlow gets in, and then Eric Redbeard, the former Eric Rowan, that Excalibur was quick to correct Jericho about that, probably to avoid a potential gimmick infringement thing, because Eric Redbeard is something that he's known as outside of WWE. Even though I think they probably would have looked this way, the other way on this, but then that was really cool. He got, Wardlow down and beat him up, took him out. So we're obviously going to get that match at some point. I think it's a shoo-in that Redbeard's going to get signed. And probably for the best, because then he could be featured here. And I mean, at his age, with his mileage, it probably would be a good idea to do that. And then buckshot lariat, foot on the rope. And then MJF takes the mask off of Brodie Lee Jr. Brodie just canes him right in the face. Just kendo sticks him right in the goddamn face. Discus clothesline by, Silver, the move of Brodie Lee. 1, 2, 3. And there you go. That's it right there. And Silver, fucking emotional as hell. He was down on the mat for a goddamn while. Eric had a sign goodbye. Hey guys, give me a second. I'm bringing somebody on the show. I know, but look, it's a tribute, and look, we need a little happiness. Little happiness, do you mind? This is Sir, by the way, for those that are unfamiliar. He says, goodbye for now, my brother, I'll see you down the road. And yeah, I think that got a lot of people, didn't it? Got a lot of people? Yeah. You are not happy with me right now. Okay, I'll move you. God, I'm sorry, bud. Anyway, Eddie Cup, that was really good by Eric, though. It was really good. Bludgeon Brother tag partner and Wyatt family member. They've been up and down the road a lot. And if they worked on the indies before, I do apologize. I'm not necessarily familiar with a lot of their indie work. Eddie then says that he'll miss him, and as long as you believe, and And as long as you believe, as long as you use his teachings, he's never gone, and said that he loved his kids, and just that was really powerful shit. We then get Ty Conte and Anna Jay versus Britt and Penelope with Kip, Miro, and Reba at ringside. It's well wrestled. I mean, these women have really improved quite a bit. Penelope has improved since her time, in the early NWA, the revival of the NWA. Britt has really invested in this heel role. Anna Jay is really good, and her and Ty Conte got a really good pace here. Commentary talked about the Kip Penelope wedding and how, wrestling weddings never necessarily work out in the strikes, and a nice kick. Forgive the producer. He's just going to be a little bit noisy and add some commentary here. Some very nice kicks. Anna got emotional after hitting a side kick, very, very emotional because the only woman in the Dark Order, and then she, after a blockbuster by Penelope for 2, she got the Queen Slayer on Penelope and got eventually got the tap out. She was quite emotional afterwards, and then Britt talks about, it's a big rig, talking about all these rigs, and then, the whole thing was rigged for the Dark Order to win, and then Thunder Rosa attacks her, and then we get a pull apart. We then get, next week, it's going to be Snoop on commentary, Sheeta versus Abaddon, Omega versus Phoenix, Mox in action, Hagar and Wardlow, SCU and the Bucks versus Acclaimed and TH2, and then a bunch of, I think, Darby and Cage, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker on night 2 of New Year's Smash, and then Cody and Seidel also for next week. And then Jericho talks about working with Brodie 27 times during his career, during their time in Jeddah, which I want to say was 2018. I think when Jericho made his appearance at the Greatest Royal Rumble, and talk about the arrow pointing east towards Mecca, just how informed Brodie was, and how great he was, how great of a family man he was. That Jericho has a dog that doesn't like a lot of people, and went right up to Brodie and knew that he was good people, and that was good stuff. The Brodie Lee Jr. Dream Match. Team Taz with Taz and Hook versus Cody, Ten and Orange Cassidy with Best Friends. Trent apparently does have a torn bicep or something in his arm because his arm's in a sling. And also Arn was there, referee Bryce Rensburg, and he was very emotional. And this, Hobbs tosses Cassidy around. Hobbs is already better than Cage. That's really saying something. And a melee later. And we get the managers with chairs like they were going to do a lightsaber fight. And then we get Spinebuster by 10 pinning Starks. And it was emotional shit. 10 was very emotional. Because the reason that it's Cody, Orange Cassidy, and 10, by the way, is I guess those are Brodie Lee Jr.'s 3 favorite wrestlers, or are his 3 favorite wrestlers. And then Team Taz, attacks, and Hook even gets in the ring. Taz's son talks to Cassidy. Then we get the lights out. Then Darby's here. His music hits and he gets there. And then Sting, they woke Grandpa up in enough time, and then they just stand around in the snow eventually, and they just face off. But it is what it is, and Darby got a pretty good pop. And had Brodie painted in his face paint, and that was a nice touch. And then the closing segment is tribute to Brodie. Cody talks about how great Brodie was. He was a beautiful man, and, it was a great family, and here's his legacy. Brodie Lee Jr. and the mother with Brodie's boots. And there we go again. Got everybody. And then we got 10 and Tony Khan coming out, and Tony Khan had the TNT Championship. And the boots were placed in the middle of the ring, which was a very nice touch. And then Khan gives him the TNT Championship, says he's a TNT champion for life. It's going to be a redesign, and that design is going to stay with Brodie's family, and that was a very, very nice touch. Video tribute to Brodie Lee with indie footage and even some pictures from his Instagram of him and WWE superstars Bray Wyatt with the Bludgeon Brother partner Eric Rowan, now Redbeard, and with Seth Rollins playing jokes on Becky Lynch. I think he was dressed up as Mario at one point, or Luigi, but it was a great celebration. A great goddamn great celebration. Great celebration. Where's my cat? Hang on one second, guys. To close this show, it was a great tribute. It was a great tribute. You can't judge it as a wrestling show. It was a great memorial. Great way to honor Brodie Lee. But more as a wrestler, but also as a family man. That's what so many people talked about. But anyway, I close with something a little more positive. The cat. I know. Okay. Anyway, you guys, share your favorite moments of Brodie Lee's career. My apologies, and just all that. Just rest in peace, Brodie. Really sorry his family has to grow up, or kids have to grow up like that, but he's gonna always be with them, even if it's not in physical form. See you soon.